Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 16 of our F1 Manager 22 Ferrari career mode. Yesterday we returned to the Temple of Speed and of course the race that we really want to win. It's time for the Italian Grand Prix from Monza. Of course, if you missed out on the last video that went live a couple of days ago from Zandvoort, I would highly recommend going back and checking that one out. But currently, yeah, we're still in pretty good stead overall in the championship. We have got a few little bits and pieces to get through over the next couple of weekends. I'm getting a bit worried about that regulation vote rule that is meant to be coming through over the next couple of weeks. You know, we'll wait and see as to whether we're going to leave Ferrari a bit high and dry heading into Season 2. But yeah, the Italian Grand Prix, we have got a few other little bits and pieces to sort out as well. Of course, both cars now are going to need a new gearbox this weekend, so we are going to have to try and make sure that we get those changed onto the final gearbox that each driver's got, of course, before they start taking grid penalties. So yeah, we might see a couple of grid penalties late on in the campaign. Now, I don't actually know, yeah, all of them are pretty badly worn out at this point, so it's not like we could try and get one of the drivers back on to an old one. I think we've also got a new chassis upgrade that's going onto the car this weekend. No, we just manufactured a couple more of those. But yeah, looking ahead though, championship-wise, we're still a long way ahead of both Red Bull and Mercedes. 611 points. I think now we have almost mathematically guaranteed ourselves the Constructors' Championship. In fact, if my maths hasn't failed me, we could lock it out this weekend, if I'm not mistaken there. What's the gap? I'm going to have to sit down and do the maths quickly. So, I've just quickly done the maths. We are 252 points ahead of Red Bull, and all we need to be ahead of them leaving this weekend is 264. So, a further 12 points gained over Red Bull will mean we can wrap up the Constructors' Championship here at Monza with 6 races to go of the campaign. One thing that definitely won't be wrapped up this weekend, though, is the Drivers' World Championship. Charles Leclerc, with a very solid Dutch Grand Prix, has reopened the gap up to 19 points ahead of Carlos Sainz there. But, you know, this one, I feel, is probably going to go down to the final couple of races of the year. We've got the new regulation vote update today, so it is going to be financial changes then. So as you know, we may change the regulations that define Formula 1's rules between seasons to make the sport fairer for competitors and more engaging for fans. With these goals in mind, we are proposing new financial regulations for the 2023 season. We have noticed the potentially smaller teams to be priced out of the competition, so we propose a lower cost cap to keep all the teams at a level playing field. These changes are detailed below, so please respond after you've reviewed them. So, they want the cost cap lowered by another $5 million. Now, of course, you know, we've got to play for our own team, of course, at the moment, so we are going to vote against these proposed regulations. I don't feel like that's going to be the case, but we'll wait and see as to what happens there. Of course, we'll find that out before we head to Singapore in next weekend's race. But yeah, let's get into it though. Temple of Speed, Italian Grand Prix. Let's see what we can do this weekend.
Welcome to Life in the Fast Lane. We're here at Monza in Italy, the home of Ferrari. But who will take home the points this weekend? Let's find out as we get started with the Italian Grand Prix. Monza, a centurion among circuits, dripping with motorsport history. Expect to see cars fly by, as 80% of the track is tackled at full throttle. It's not all go, however, and brakes can be prone to overheating through the tight chicanes that Monza has to offer. This is it. We're down to the last few races of the season, and it's time for that final push. Who will be crowned champion at the end of it all? We'll find out soon enough. The competition is on.
Right, well, here we are then, back at the Temple of Speed for the Italian Grand Prix weekend. And yeah, like we said, of course, can be champions this weekend. And of course, I'm sure we'd love to do that at our home circuit. But as always, you know, free practice, Monza shouldn't be particularly difficult to try and get the car set up for. But Red Bull have often been stronger around the high-speed circuits this year, so maybe they can try and rustle our feathers. 12 points. That is all we need to pull out this weekend. If we got another one too, we would guarantee ourselves the crown. Well, immediately then, Monza looking a bit like a traffic paradise, but both cars out there and straight to the top of the timing screens. Like I said, it is going to be interesting to see what Red Bull can do this weekend, because this might be their best shot at a race victory between now and the end of the year, of course. We talk about Red Bull's top-end speed in real life, Yeah, you know, Baku, one of their most competitive weekends. Albert Park as well, of course. You just see Perez in front of us trying to make a move on the Haas car. But we've just got to try and make sure we do what we need to do and try not to worry about them too much. But we really, really need to win this race. If we don't win here, despite all the good work we've done this year, we know what the mafioso at Ferrari can be like. That could still be us out the door. There we go. Charles Leclerc happy with the car setup, as Max Verstappen apparently runs wide down at turn 5. Not going to worry too much about that. But yeah, Charles very, very happy with the car. Hopefully Carlos will feel similarly with his Ferrari. We have gone with slightly different setup philosophies, but both of them are hopefully going to give us pretty similar results. There we go. Carlos as well looks to be pretty happy. Very neutral. Very, very neutral. I'm hoping is a good sign. Hindsight is a beautiful thing late on in the session, and maybe I shouldn't have got the drivers to go back out on their original set of these soft compounded tyres. Yeah, we'll keep them out there for now. They're almost at the end of their stints, but it's probably not going to give us the best data, as I did have to tweak a few things around on the setup side of things. Both drivers happy with the speed of the car, but not particularly happy with the cornering. Not really sure how I can nail that for them, because this is Monza. You just need basically a dragster. Oh, there we go, of course. Leclerc now not happy with the car setup as well. I don't know, again, whether that's tyres or what, but not the best end to free practice one then here in Monza, but we'll wait and see whether we can try and get some useful data out of them anyway. Well, maybe I'm just getting a little bit nervous because it's our home Grand Prix weekend, but yeah, felt like a bit of a shaky start here in Monza, of course, for the Italian Grand Prix. Sainz fastest there by a couple of tenths over Charles Leclerc, but Verstappen not far away on a set of hard compound tyres. Should be a good weekend for Alpine as well, of course. They've got a rapid car down the straight, but fingers crossed we've still got the pace. Let's get into qualifying. Formula 1 is finally back in 2022, and now you can rep your favourite teams. Of course, using the F1 store, every team now has merch lineups available, whether you're an Aston Martin fan, a Williams fan, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull. The choice is completely up to you. But yeah, check out the F1 merch store down below for all the official releases from all of the teams. And of course, as always, if you use our links as well, you massively help support the channel. So yeah, give it a look and see if there's anything you like.
Our race weekend continues as we head into qualifying. There's very little time to relax because each and every driver will need to bring their A game to the track for qualifying. They'll need to push themselves to the limit if they're to be challenging for a strong grid position. You simply never know what you'll see come qualifying. Let the competition commence.
Right, here we are then, Italian GP qualifying, and look at that, Red Bull are certainly upping the ante this weekend as we head into the Italian GP qualifying session. They're Sainz down to 4th at the end of FP3, but Tsunoda and Sebastian Vettel both taking grid penalties this weekend. We have to keep it clean and tidy, even if all our hopes just rely on Charles Leclerc here, similar fashion as 2019. We have to, absolutely have to win this one. Right, well, here we are then, Q3 for the Italian GP, and we have got Sainz all over the back of his teammate Charles Leclerc here, so whether they're going to be able to give each other a bit of slipstream back down towards turn 1, I don't really know, but Red Bull have certainly launched a surprise attack this weekend. We are going to have to really rely on both of these drivers being at the top of their game as they head out the final corner, about to start their first run here in Q3. This is already looking like a disaster. We cannot Ferrari strategy this, surely. As Leclerc having to go defensive down in towards turn 1. I'm going to get Sainz just to abandon it. We'll tell him, yeah, there we go. Sainz is going to just move out of the way ever so slightly there, but that immediately is not going to do us any favours. Need to maybe space out the cars a little bit more before we go out onto our last-ditch attempts in just a moment. But we'll stay with Charles Leclerc then over the course of this lap. We may as well let Sainz try and get the lap in anyway, as purple there for Charles Leclerc through Sector 1 as he heads out in towards the two Lesmos. Of course, the first one slightly more angled than the second as he heads around the top of the circuit there, of course, down the hill, back in towards Ascari next up, trying to avoid using too much curve there from Charles Leclerc, but Sainz should still be able to get quite close to him by the end of the lap there, of course, stuck inside the slipstream of his teammate. Won't help him out through Ascari, of course, having to run super low wing angles around this venue there. But Leclerc purple through Sector 1 and Sector 2, of course, will all depend on the times that Red Bulls do in just a moment. I think Max Verstappen was able to achieve a 1:21.1 at the end of Q2 there. As Charles Leclerc rams through the Parabolica out of the final corner, up towards the start-finish line. What is the time going to be for Leclerc? It's not looking good. It's a 21.7 there, and Sainz 8 tenths further behind. Oh, I'm feeling worried. I'm really worried this weekend. Oh, Verstappen locked up down at turn 11. That's exactly what we want to see. As Verstappen, that's definitely not turn 11 there, but big mistake on his first Q3 run, sorry, even I should say, and that's going to push him right to the rear of the field. So despite the nightmare we had on the first run, Leclerc still fastest. As Verstappen going to come across the line there, surely that's going to be way off the pace. 1.3 seconds off despite that error, only half a second away from Carlos. Right, well, Max Verstappen going to be one of the first cars onto his final run, but we've still got Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz here that are hopefully about to set some blistering times right towards the end of qualifying. Perez currently up on the front row. Alpine locking out row 2 here, so if we get any yellow flags like we saw last weekend at Zandvoort, that could really make a difference here as we're going to stay with Carlos Sainz for this final run here in Q3 there. Leclerc a little way up the road. Fingers crossed for him. He's going to be able to try and go even faster there and just try and solidify himself on the pole position, but we're right on board there. Sainz, like we said, 6 seconds as he crosses the start-finish line. We're cutting it fine here at the Temple of Speed there. Heavy braking down in towards turn 1 there. Nice and tidy through the right. Take a little bit of curb on the left and make sure you avoid the curbs too much on the exit. Leclerc improving, though, through Sector 1. Purple for the Monegasque driver there as we head now through Curva Grande with the Spaniard. Is he going to be able to go any quicker than his teammate through that first sector? 28.6. It's a 28.556 for Carlos Sainz there. So 13 thousandths of a second quicker than his teammate. We've got, I think, Kevin Magnussen rounding through the final couple of corners. He's going to be the first car to hopefully try and improve his time, as Sainz at the moment is absolutely flying there. Leclerc maybe getting a little bit stuck as we head out through the Ascari chicane. He is a little bit close to the Alfa Romeo than I would have wanted there, but Hamilton up now onto the second row. Verstappen can't improve, though. We are at the moment still on provisional pole as Max Verstappen has had a nightmare towards the end of qualifying, but neither Sainz or Leclerc able to improve during Sector 2 there. Will Sergio Perez be the car that springs a surprise and ruins our qualifying streak that has lasted ever since the beginning of the year there? Perez can't improve. He will stay in at P3 there, and Charles Leclerc heading back to the pit lane. Will Carlos Sainz be able to take pole? 3 thousandths of a second. Carlos Sainz has done it there, and despite the issues early on in qualifying, we've still been able to bag a front row lockout right at the bitter end there. I have got no idea how we did that. You can see both Red Bulls 28.1, 28.1, and then a 21.1 and 21.1. And suddenly then at the end of qualifying, 21.9 and a 22.0. Red Bull have completely thrown qualifying away. Everyone losing time at the end of the session, but somehow we lost less than them. And we're front row lockout once more. Sainz will start this race from pole position. This channel is proudly sponsored by Bybit, the official crypto partner of Red Bull's Formula 1 team. I've been using their platform for my personal crypto savings over the last few months, and when they got in touch to support the channel, I was super excited. Currently, they're offering you guys a special new promo for the first 100 of you to deposit $10 or more onto the platform. You'll get another $10 free. Also, 5 lucky winners will get their initial deposit doubled up to $1,000. That means if you deposited $1,000 onto the platform using my codes below, you could be within a chance to get another $1,000 completely free. We've seen the landscape around crypto drastically change over the last couple of years, and I genuinely believe it holds an important place in our future. However, please be careful as always when trading, as you are liable to lose money. But if you're interested and you're 18 or older, click the link down below to get started and see why Red Bull and myself, as well as thousands of others, trust Bybit as their crypto.
Welcome to race day. And before we get down to it, last minute checks are being made.
Ferrari performed brilliantly during qualifying and will be very pleased with their grid positions. But the challenge for them will be to keep the momentum going during the race. This weekend, Red Bull displayed promise during qualifying. Now they need to capitalize on their grid position and get a good race under their belts. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
Well, this is going to be one thrilling Italian Grand Prix, and we're nearly ready to kick things off.
Right, here we are then, ready for the Italian GP, and this weekend we are really feeling the pressure there. Red Bull are still very, very strong. If you have a look over the free practice results there, let's have a look quickly. Thought we could get free practice results. Oh, yeah, there we go. Results, sorry, would make more sense. There you can see free practice 3. Verstappen and Perez both quicker than Carlos Sainz despite doing less laps, so it is going to be tight this weekend as we get in towards the race. But strategy, though, we're going to try and keep both drivers on a medium-hard race today. We might have to bring team orders in, though. If we feel Red Bull are applying too much pressure, we might just have to bring in some team orders there. But Leclerc starting P2. Sainz has really had the measure on him over 1 lap pace in recent weekends there. Yet another pole position for the Spaniard. But yeah, who's going to be able to walk away with the crown today? They both want to try and win this Grand Prix, but of course we are focused on the championship. We need that Constructors' title. We don't need it really at Monza this weekend, but we absolutely want it. What a way that would be in our first year with Ferrari.
As the sun continues to shine, it seems like nothing can dampen the mood of excitement here at the track. Taking a look here at Carlos Sainz. They're in P1. Let's see if they can take advantage of that position. Leclerc there, down the grid. They're in second place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds of the race. The race start is mere seconds away. Here we are at the oldest circuit in Europe for this, the Italian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Looks to be a pretty even start there, as no Carlos Sainz has nailed the start as Verstappen. Going to try and have a look past Charles Leclerc as we head down towards turn 1 there. And look at that, the dream start for Carlos Sainz as he heads down in towards the first corner. Fernando Alonso trying to make it 3 wide through turn 1 there. Charles Leclerc's going to have to rattle over the curbs, but Alonso, he could be our saviour early on in this Grand Prix there. Max Verstappen trying to come back at Charles Leclerc though as we head down in towards Curva Grande, but Max Verstappen just trying to wriggle his way back past Fernando Alonso there. Perez dropping back down into P5 off the start. Hamilton in 6th place just ahead of Esteban Ocon. But Carlos Sainz there leads the way at the front of the field. Half a second clear as we head out of the first sector. And that was the dream start for Carlos. As you can see, Charles Leclerc there trying to hang on to P2 ahead of the Dutchman. And yeah, I can't get over that. Fernando Alonso getting between the Red Bulls at the start of this Grand Prix there. That could be absolutely critical, of course. Perez trying to take him out of the equation as early as possible is probably going to be quite an essential strategy today, as we're gonna let Sainz push early on there. We're going to try and make sure that he's got an advantage early on in this Grand Prix. Like I said, you know, we don't like bringing team orders in, but this weekend I think we're going to absolutely have to there, as Carlos Sainz is going to immediately be put onto deploy there. As you can see, Charles Leclerc under pressure from Max Verstappen down in towards the final corners of lap 1. But here goes Sainz then out of the final turn. They're going to use that battery as he heads back down towards turn 1 there, but the gap isn't really opening up early on here, so we'll have to wait and see whether he can build up a 1 second margin as we head back down in towards turn 1 there. Verstappen still applying pressure to Charles Leclerc there, tucked right in the rear wing as Perez, oh look at that, Alonso trying to be very, very aggressive with his braking manoeuvres there down at the first turn. But Sainz still leads. Let's have a look at strategy there. It looks like the top 3 all on the mediums there, but a lot of cars on soft tyres this weekend. Of course, I have noticed, you know, you guys let me know down in the comments below. I was aware of the bug currently on F1 Manager, still waiting on the new 1.07 patch. But yeah, we're going to try and not utilise it too much on this game at the moment. And of course, yeah, we'll make sure that next season we'll be doing that with the new 1.07 patch, of course, so the races can be a little bit more interesting there. But Charles Leclerc still tucked up in the wheel tracks of Carlos Sainz there, a gap 0.3 of a second, as we might just get both drivers to push early on in this Grand Prix. I really don't know what to do early on here. We'll bring Sainz back down into balance, but can we try and get both drivers away from Max Verstappen at the start of the race? That could be absolutely critical here if we want to try and pull away, as Perez still can't find a way back past Fernando Alonso there. Like we mentioned in qualifying, those Alpines will be incredibly rapid down the straights, which of course can make them quite difficult there, as I think Leclerc trying to potentially have a sniff up the inside of Carlos Sainz out of the final corner. Let's try and onboard then with Charles Leclerc tucked up behind his teammates. DRS now enabled, and will Leclerc, he won't have it just yet, of course, as we head back down towards turn 1 there. He hasn't quite got the speed over Carlos Sainz, who's probably going to cover off into the braking zone. No, there goes Leclerc, side by side, down through the first chicane there, but Carlos Sainz will once again just hang on to the position, but this one is, I think, probably going to get quite spicy very, very quickly here. Both drivers want the win. We cannot let it come to a head, though. Here comes Charles Leclerc again, though, down through the Alboreto curve. Out of the final turn he goes, and he might now just have completed the move on Carlos Sainz there, but Max Verstappen waiting in the wings. You can see the Dutchman now with the DRS as well. Sainz might be a sitting duck as he tucks back into the slipstream as we head back down in towards the first corner here, but Perez now back up into P4 of the Grand Prix there. Sainz will just about hang on to P2 once again, but Leclerc now, he's got plenty of spare fuel. He could try and break away early on in this race there, but we really... Do we let them work together, or do we just try and get Leclerc free at the front and potentially then leave Sainz to try and defend from the cars behind? I don't want to have too much say over it. I know I can already read what you all are going to be saying down in the comments below, but it is so difficult early on in a race there. But, you know, we have got a lot of time to play out. 53 laps, of course, around the Italian GP. There is plenty of time to try and see what happens here, but at the moment, Leclerc, again, not as fast on Saturday, but does seem like when he gets the clear area, he's able to break away slightly, but of course then the DRS as we head down in towards the Scarish chicane now. Definitely not the button I wanted, is Verstappen now trying to come at Carlos Sainz, just backs out of it through a Scari, but here comes Sainz now, all over the back of Charles Leclerc once more. Is he going to be able to try and have a look for a move down the inside in towards the final corner? I guess Verstappen. No, Perez now suddenly up into P3 of the Grand Prix, so Verstappen must have had a nightmare of the final corner of Sector 2. But here we are then, still Carlos Sainz tucked up behind his teammate, of course. Ground effect cars mean they're able to stick together a whole lot closer as we head back down towards turn 1. They're both Red Bulls with the DRS. We could really do with those two having a bit of a squabble early on in this Grand Prix. Now, are they going side by side down through turn 1? Yes, they are. Verstappen not wanting to back out of it. Right, this is our chance. We can break away from the cars behind there. What we're going to do, we're going to get both cars into maximum attack mode, and we are going to get them to try and pull away from those Red Bulls, try and catch them by surprise if they're going to keep fighting each other early on in this Grand Prix. We told Sainz not to attack his teammate, but we need both cars just to absolutely go for it and try to build a gap over Max Verstappen there. As you can already see, Sainz has dropped back behind his teammate again, so they can't try and slipstream each other at the moment, but we have got to try and push. Well, we have completely drained the battery on both cars there, as we're now going to tell Sainz he can go for it again, but we have opened up the gap over those Red Bulls behind there. As you can see immediately, Sainz trying to get on the offensive, though, as we head back down towards turn 1 there. Perez and Verstappen still duking it out behind us, and how many times this year have we said about Red Bull not playing a good strategy game there, unless they've got Perez out in front just to burn up his set of soft compound tyres and try to close up the gap once more to the top two. Perez has just set a new fastest lap of the day. But yeah, of course, we just have to try and save a bit of battery on both the cars. We're now getting both back up into neutral and pray that we haven't lost the gap. Monza is probably the most micromanagement circuit on the F1 calendar on F1 Manager, and we are really going to test that to its absolute limits today. So again, here comes Carlos Sainz, this time around to the inside of Charles Leclerc, down in towards the Ascari chicane as Verstappen pulls off a carbon copy move just behind. But again, it's so difficult to judge. What do we do early on in this race there? Verstappen now 1.1 still behind Charles Leclerc. We just have to cover that gap still in the early stages and make sure we don't give Red Bull a look in, because if they do, they are really going to hound us. As we head towards lap 10 then of this Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel apparently locking up down at, I'm guessing it's actually turn 1, under pressure from the Williams behind there, and just hops over the chicane and makes a bit of a mistake there. So Sebastian Vettel, of course, maybe not his last Italian Grand Prix. We don't quite know whether he's going to retire at the end of Season 1 in this series, but you're just having a look actually at the gap behind there. Red Bull are just not able to pull away and shake off Fernando Alonso here. Esteban Ocon has just dipped out of the 1 second zone, but Hamilton might be able to slingshot both of them back in. As Sainz now new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We're letting our cars just sort of chop and change places when they need to early on, but we're just getting them both to push on there. As Sainz now going defensive from Leclerc back into turn 1. We are having to just make sure that gap continues to open up. 2.5 seconds now ahead of Sergio Perez. As you can see, his tyres are certainly taking a bit of a beating. But, I mean, Monza, not particularly a tyre-intensive circuit. So even if we just push hard, mediums to hard here will not be a bad call or particularly difficult. Yuki Tsunoda apparently going round down at turn 4. We've often seen Yuki make unpressured mistakes, and there we go, lucky not to ground out the car over the curb. Mick Schumacher now apparently has gone round down at turn 3, so it's all kicking off at this stage of the day. Schumacher, huge lock-up down there. Luckily he's got plenty of space just to try and get the car back out onto the circuit, but yeah, clearly more drivers having issues down at the second chicane there, but yeah, Sainz still leads the way ahead of Leclerc. We have still told both of them, you know, they can fight each other if they want to early on. The gap is now comfortable at the front of the field, but yeah, Perez now dropping down to P5 there. Fernando Alonso could legitimately sneak away a podium when we thought Red Bull were honestly, this was Red Bull's chance this weekend, as someone else having issues apparently down in Sector 1. Is that Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo? We don't quite know. Oh no, what's Leclerc done?
Let's have a look.
Has Leclerc picked up some damage then out of the first chicane there? Sorry, second chicane. He just dips it in the gravel trap, has damaged the floor, and that might mean that Carlos Sainz here might have some free running. Of course, Charles Leclerc now drops out of the 1 second zone, and that could be race defining there, as how bad is the damage on the underfloor? Minor. So it's not going to cost him much, but it is certainly going to cost him a little bit here, especially around such a high-speed circuit. Leclerc now could be in for quite a long afternoon. Apparently Lando Norris locking up down at turn 1. We've got yellow flags out constantly at the moment. Just please don't say the McLarens came together. No, Lando just under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo. Takes himself out for a picnic down at the chicane there. Team not happy with that, but yeah, it was never really going to be a strong track for McLaren this season. So we've got yellow flags out. What's Sainz done? Oh, Sainz, no! What have you done, man? He's under no pressure at all. He's Nico Rosberg'd it down at turn 1. And the second weekend in a row, Carlos Sainz has made a mistake here. And that's going to send him right down behind all of those midfield cars. Charles Leclerc now might have just been given a lifeline here in the Italian GP. Sainz now down to 7th place here. That is heartbreaking for Carlos, but he has still got the quickest car on the circuit. He can definitely recover this. So we've just seen Fernando Alonso dive into the pit lane there. He's going to re-emerge down in P12. Don't think it's really worth trying to get Sainz on the undercut to try and get ahead of these guys. There is Perez and Hamilton immediately into the pit lane. Ocon and Verstappen now going to duke it out back down towards turn 1. But we need Sainz just to push on. Yeah, pit window coming up for Carlos Sainz. But if he can overcut a lot of these cars, that could be quite useful in this Grand Prix. We'll get him on we'll get him on neutral ERS mode there, and hopefully he can push on and get Verstappen and Ocon, hopefully in one go. No, we got cars off. Someone else has had issues in this Grand Prix. Have we got a safety car? We have got a safety car. So that actually works out really well for both of our drivers. It's Leclerc that's made the mistake. Rattles over the curbs there. Does get away with it, but both drivers feeling the pressure this weekend for whatever reason. And that has brought out a safety car here. Has Leclerc got more damage on that floor because of it? We are going to have to double stack both cars at the end of this lap. As here we go, pit options, hard tyres for both cars there. So we're going to have to double stack, but we should still come out still at the front of the field. Still minor damage for Leclerc. But of course, yeah, we need to make sure save fuel, save tyres, save battery on both cars as well. I keep forgetting to do that when we get a safety car. As Charles Leclerc then heading into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Max Verstappen, though, trying to play the long game here, and he's going to stay out a little bit longer in this Grand Prix. Where is Sainz going to come out ahead of Russell and Valtteri Bottas with a bit of luck there? But nice quick stop for Charles Leclerc. Will the same be said for Carlos Sainz? Going to be even better for Carlos Sainz there. So Ferrari nailing the pit stops there with a double stack. But where are we going to come out in comparison to George Russell here as we head back down towards turn 1? It is going to be quite close between the Mercedes and our Ferrari car. There is Sainz, has just about done enough by the looks of it. Sainz will re-emerge in P3 of this Grand Prix. Of course, Leclerc in front of him with underfloor damage, and Verstappen still yet to make his stop. We've been given a bit of a lifeline there for Carlos Sainz, but I do wonder what's going to happen later on in the afternoon. Right, safety car in then at the end of this lap. We'll get both drivers back up into attacking mode, but when will we see Verstappen pit in this Grand Prix? In terms of pit stops, who else is yet to pit then? So our biggest threat currently is Esteban Ocon in his Alpine there, as we're going to stay with Charles Leclerc. Maybe he can try and make a move work on Max Verstappen as we head back down towards turn 1. In fact, you know what? We're going to tell him to go full send on Max Verstappen as we get ready to restart the Italian Grand Prix here. Verstappen, of course, still is yet to pit, so it's not a critical move at this stage of the Grand Prix, but Ocon could be on for a podium. Hamilton, Perez and Alonso have all boxed as well there, but the grid is very, very mixed up as we head down in towards the final corner. When is the Dutchman going to try and go? It is going to be green flag racing in just a second here, and we're going to try and see if Leclerc can immediately get the jump on Max Verstappen there as we head out of the final corner. We'll just tell Carlos Sainz to push on a little bit more as well there, as here comes Charles Leclerc immediately to the inside of the Dutchman as we head back down towards turn 1 there. Will he be close enough to try and go for a send? Of course, fresh hard tyres against very worn out mediums, and here goes Charles Leclerc up the inside of Max Verstappen. I'm sure the Italian fans will be loving to see this as they head out of the first couple of corners there, but Charles Leclerc just trips over himself on the exit, perhaps trying to avoid the curbing off the corner, and Verstappen, of course, always an aggressive defender, will hang on to the race lead for now. Leclerc already moaning about tyre temperatures off the restart. Of course, we've got to be careful of that damaged floor on the second Ferrari car. Do we just let Sainz through? Of course, we already saw before the pit window that Leclerc was a couple of tenths a lap Sainz was a couple of tenths a lap faster anyway because Leclerc had damaged that floor, but we have to try and get him to go past Verstappen. Put him into overtake mode, see if that's going to make the difference as we head down in towards Ascari there. Leclerc weaving this way and that. Carlos Sainz, again, I think has probably just got the best seat in the house at the moment, as we'll tell him just to sit back here and save up the battery, the fuel, everything like that, of course, whilst he watches these two battlers. Look at that, Max Verstappen very aggressively weaving to try and keep hold of the racing line there. Will Leclerc be able to do anything as we head back down towards turn 1, almost at the halfway stage of this Grand Prix there, and Verstappen runs wide, but Leclerc just gets caught out behind him. That might allow Sainz to have a look for a run back down towards turn 1 there, and here comes Carlos Sainz side by side with Charles Leclerc, his teammate, as we head back down in towards the first big braking zone of the lap there. I don't know how Leclerc hasn't got the move done on Max Verstappen just yet, but will Sainz keep the nose there? Yes, he will. They go side by side through the first turn there. Leclerc will hang on, sparks absolutely flying everywhere, as Sainz will try and keep the nose there on the exit of the corner. But do we just let Sainz by? I think we've got to think about the long game here. Sainz has got a quicker race car underneath him. We'll tell Leclerc just to let Carlos past. At the moment, we'll try and then use the slipstream to get both cars through, and Leclerc will hang on. He will let Carlos Sainz pass there. A big, brave choice for Charles Leclerc to make it this stage of the championship, but he damaged the floor. He made the mistake earlier on, and Sainz is surely going to be the one that is going to be able to get past Max Verstappen a whole lot quicker here, as the Dutchman now has been able to break free slightly. Leclerc, though, we will get to continue pushing on there and hopefully build up a gap over all those cars behind us. Esteban Ocon sat in the wheel tracks, potentially having a look for a move on Valtteri Bottas, even just behind. Ocon will slot back in for now, as Sainz now surely is going to be able to apply pressure to Max. Oh, there we go. Max Verstappen losing the place to Carlos Sainz there. That must have been up around the Lesmos. So completely missed that one, as here we go then. Carlos Sainz round the outside of Max Verstappen. They're down in towards the first Lesmo. This is a brave, brave move, but swoops around the outside there. Complete confidence in the car, and Carlos Sainz will reclaim the lead of the Italian Grand Prix there. Perfect move from the Spaniard. The team loving that one after worries just a few laps ago after he made the mistake. But here comes Verstappen trying to potentially have a look back at the inside. We'll say absolutely not, mate. Surely the Dutchman going to have to box quite soon here, as Leclerc now has got to try and get back within the wheel tracks. Here we go, Charles Leclerc then all over the back of Max Verstappen as we're about to start lap 30 of 53 here at the Temple of Speed. And at the moment, it looks like Red Bull have done the Ferrari strategy and completely botched it here, as there we go, Verstappen peels into the pit lane as we start lap 30 of this Grand Prix. We have now got a comfortable 1-2 back at the front of the field. We can afford just to tell our drivers just to calm it back down a little bit. Of course, don't want any mistakes late on in the afternoon here, and this could be looking pretty settled at the moment, but another safety car could really cost us here, as Max Verstappen, he's going to re-emerge down in P19 of the race there. Heartbreak for Red Bull, of course. He has got quite a few other cars that will need to pit before the end of this race, but poor Max Verstappen there, that has really wrecked his afternoon and potentially ruined Red Bull's shot. As there we go, all those other cars now boxing and heading back out of the pit lane. So we are going to have a few cars at the rear of the field that are going to be very, very quick towards the checkered flag there. Interestingly enough, everyone else opting to go mediums or softs to the end. But yeah, apart from Lance Stroll, of all people, so not too sure what's going on there for Sir Lancelot, but Alex Albon up in the points for Williams, of course. They could desperately, it's both Williams and Aston Martin, of course, duking it out for the battle, not for the wooden spoon. So that could be quite interesting to just watch unfold here, of course. Even on countback, that can make a big, big difference for both of their championship challenges. But yeah, our two cars at the front of the field looking pretty dead set. But is Verstappen going to be able to close in and potentially jump this whole gaggle as Daniel Ricciardo desperately wants to try and get more points for McLaren? Oh no! Why? Why have Williams pit Albon again there late on in the day? I don't know if he picked up front wing damage or something, but that has wrecked Williams' chance of trying to score points here. Sebastian Vettel now into P11 just behind Daniel Ricciardo, but I mean, they've both got Verstappen waiting in the wings, and we are much more focused on that gap than the one, our two cars are just comfortable at the front of the field there. But Perez now back up into P3. Cylinder pressure from both those Alpines, and Lewis Hamilton is almost 3 wide there. Fernando Alonso uber aggressive down in towards the chicane, but less than 20 laps to go. We are sitting pretty. And there we go, Max Verstappen now back up into the points of the Italian Grand Prix, so any hope for Aston Martin and Williams has basically been eroded. 10 laps to go then here at Monza, and I mean, Charles Leclerc is a bit lucky, to be honest, that Hamilton, Ocon, Perez and Alonso are still just battling out so aggressively with each other, because he does not have the pace at the moment. I think if Perez was out of the front of this group, not in dirty air, he would probably just close up to the back of Charles Leclerc late on in the afternoon. But yeah, Leclerc getting a bit of a lifeline there. Big costly error by him damaging that floor. Luckily, of course, we have got a few spares that you can bolt on next weekend, but whether that will mean a grid penalty for Charles Leclerc there, we will have to wait and see. But yeah, Charles Leclerc still P2. Carlos Sainz, though, 5 seconds clear at the road. He is once again looking, unless he bottles it, looking like he's going to take out more points at Charles Leclerc. But the bigger picture for us is the Constructors' Championship might be about to be wrapped up. Perez running wide down at turn 5. Did he just take a trip through the gravel trap? Yes, he did. Didn't lose a place there with 7 to go, but not going to help him, and that might be some underfloor damage for Sergio Perez as well. Didn't really hurt their overall chances, but we are still just comfortable at the front there. 8 seconds now, the gap to Lewis Hamilton behind. But which of those cars will take this final podium place there? Ocon just gets squeezed out down at turn 1, and Verstappen now 16 seconds back. What a disappointment that is for Red Bull. P7 on a day they thought they could win. Around in the final corner then, starting the last lap here of the Italian Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz is going to join a very, very illustrious list of Ferrari winners here at Monza. He joins Charles Leclerc, his teammate. He joins the likes of Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, and even Gerhard Berger all those years ago. And of course, with this, as long as Leclerc doesn't bottle it on the final lap either, we will be crowned World Constructors Champions. It's been a long, long time for Ferrari. 2008 was the last time they stood on top of the Constructors' Championship, of course, in Formula 1. 2007 was the last time they took a Drivers' World Championship, but hopefully, with the way things are going, unless we have a catastrophic Ferrari-esque failure late on in the game, it is going to be one of our two drivers that will be taking the crown come the end of the year here. But Carlos Sainz has been an up-and-down season so far. Made the mistake at Zandvoort last weekend. Made another mistake early on here at the Temple of Speed, but luckily didn't pick up damage like Charles Leclerc did, so he's just had comfortable, just that little bit of extra pace between then and the end of the weekend there. Leclerc still struggling with both powertrain issues, down to 47% there, and of course the underfloor minor damage. But yeah, Charles Leclerc, just not quite his day today. Of course, has won this race once before, but Carlos Sainz round in the final few corners then. It has been a topsy-turvy Grand Prix for the Spaniard, but through Parabolica, for the final time, he will come out to a sea of red Ferrari fans, and Carlos Sainz will win the Italian Grand Prix here, and we will wrap up the Constructors' Championship in the process.
Sainz crosses the line first. He's taken the win. Let's have a look. And Carlos Sainz takes the win.
You can't say they didn't earn it. They put in an amazing performance today.
What a fantastic result for Carlos Sainz. This is a tremendous podium result. It's joy all around for the team. And with that, the Sainz name remains engraved in F1 history. But remember, it's not just about today's trophies, it's the points that can make all the difference. Ferrari had a very good race, proving they're definitely a team to contend with.
It's really wonderful to see all the hard work they've been putting in paying off like this.
After an intense weekend, the team ends in first place in the constructor standings.
Meet us next at the Marina Bay Circuit for a breathtaking race through the streets of Singapore.
Well, there we go then, the end of the Italian Grand Prix, and Carlos Sainz there, pole position, fastest lap, race victory, made it look a whole lot easier than it actually was there for the Spaniard. Charles Leclerc P2 ahead of Perez there, and Ocon, like we said, Alpine a very, very strong weekend, unlucky, not to pick up a podium there. Hamilton in P5 ahead of Alonso, and what disappointment for Max Verstappen there. Zhou Guanyu, Gasly and K-Mag round out the top 10, and then you can see the rest of your order there, just Yuki Tsunoda, who didn't see it through to the checkered flag. But yeah, with that result, it means we've got a 275 point lead at the top of the championship, and only 264 points, left available. Of course, 6 times 44, 264 there. So we have done it. Constructors' Championship all wrapped up. Of course, there are no sprint weekends on F1 Manager, but yeah, that would mean we still wouldn't quite wrap it up. So luckily, made things a little bit simpler for us. But 15 wins, 15 extra podiums as well this year, 13 fastest laps, and of course 16 pole positions. It has been a mega season so far. Drivers' Championship wise though, the gap at the top back down to 11 points there between our two drivers, as it is looking more and more like, I think now it is officially just a 3-horse race for the crown between Leclerc, Sainz and Max Verstappen, but it is a case of when, not if, Max Verstappen is squeezed out there. 8 wins still for Charles Leclerc, 7 for Carlos Sainz though at this stage of the season, but 6 fastest laps to 7 for Charles Leclerc as well there. Goes to show, you know, the fastest lap bonus points could make the difference come the end of the season. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will return very, very soon with more F1 Manager Career Mode. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.